So, hello everybody, and welcome to the student panel for CS orientation. I hope you're all enjoying. Yes, I've been about 2 hours straight on this stream, and I'm almost insane. So we have our panelists here, 7 of them. Most of them you've seen read their intros, but if each person could just say a small one sentence about who you are, go ahead. We'll start with Ben.
Sure. Hi, I'm Ben. I'm starting my fourth year in a computer science specialist with a cognitive science major. I'm sort of generally interested in like the intersection of artificial intelligence and human psychology. I've done some research in that area.
Awesome. Jacob?
Everyone, I'm Jacob. I just finished my third year and I'm taking this year off. I'm interested in applying machine learning to biology and healthcare and more in general. So this year I'm doing like an internship at a biotech startup.
Ricky?
Hi everyone, I'm Ricky. I'm in my PY year now. I'm intern at Intel and doing some work on FPGAs. I'm generally interested in linguistics and graphics. I'm currently in a DGP lab and attend their meetings.
Awesome. Ibrahim?
Hi, I'm Ibrahim. I'm going into my fourth year at U of T CS. I'm interested in the intersection of like finance and technology and like working for fintech companies.
Michaela?
Hi, my name is Michaela. I'm going into, or I guess I just started my fourth year at U of T, and I'm doing a bioinformatics specialist and a CS major. I've worked in the past, like in at Sick Kids and the Center for Computational Medicine, and also at the Kim H. Kremble Center for Neuroinformatics. And I was like specifically interested in the intersection of like technology and personalized medicine.
Lana?
Hi, I'm Lana. I'm a first year Master's of Science student of Computer Science, and I'm interested in the intersection of machine learning with human cognition and society. My past experiences include doing research at U of T with the Cognitive Lexicon Lab, and also doing internships with companies like the MIT IBM Watson AI Lab, Amazon, and Intel as well.
And of course, John H. Moss Scholar, Google Women in Tech, Ladders, etc., etc., etc.
I forgot those as well.
All right, that's an extra sentence. And Samit.
Yeah, hey everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, perfect. Cool. So I'm an alumnus from the COMSA program. Right now I'm working on a startup where we're focused on measuring and predicting mental health by analyzing linguistic data. I also do research for the Vector Institute, focusing on a similar intersection. I've published some research before with the computer science department, and I've done a lot of sort of hackathon project type things. I won Microsoft's Imagine Cup in 2018 for building a robotic arm that had a camera in the palm, such that it could autonomously grasp objects through robotic vision. So I'm really interested in the intersections of like social impact and AI human design problems.
Awesome. So that is all 7 of our panelists, and you can read more of their profiles on the announcements channel, and we'll be posting those graphics cards that you saw earlier. Now, off to the questions. So we are splitting up questions again into 3 groups: academic, social, and then lifestyle, and then we'll go to Discord for the rest of the questions. So you guys can use the hashtag student panel to ask any questions and interact. And we also have all of our upper year leaders that can answer some questions if we can't get to them. So I guess the first question we have is, how do you allocate study time? So who'd like to go first? Okay. All right, Lana.
So when I'm I also did my undergrad at U of T. I forgot to say that. So in computer science and cognitive science. When I allocate study time, for me, it's kind of like every time is study time. Like I really invested in my undergraduate degree such that I would make sure that before my course and after my course, I was preparing for that course, and before my midterms, I was studying for them as well. Of course, there's time for social and for like personal development, but I did feel like it was the best investment just to make sure that you put in as much effort as you could. So I did choose to kind of allocate most of my time for studying that way.
All right, and Ibrahim.
Yeah, so I personally find it like really hard to like allocate time per se, but what I found like super helpful is like always like forming like a group of friends that are like in the course together and like trying to like set aside a time like as a group, because then you're like more motivated to like actually go and study at that time rather than like just setting a time for yourself and then like at the last minute be like, yeah, no, I'll just do this later. Plus I think it's just like really fun like working with others or like studying with others, even if you're like just like sitting on your own, like doing your thing, just like asking questions. That's a little harder in an online setting, but like I would definitely encourage you like try doing it. Like maybe have like co-working spaces, like have like a Zoom call in the background while you're studying, something like that. It makes it easier.
Awesome. Anyone else want to add?
Yeah, I'm happy to add. Just a question. I was thinking about, if I even saw it as allocating time, whereas because I feel like I wouldn't intentionally necessarily allocate time. I just feel like while I was in school, I would just always feel like I should be studying, but I'd always get distracted. So just the times where I wasn't 100 like totally distracted, I would just end up studying. But the things that I felt like did actually help, I think similar to what Ibrahim said, I'd like set a particular time with friends, and we'd like go over like a problem set or lectures for like a class. That always definitely helps. I think having people that you're accountable to have always made it very easy for me to make sure that the time that I'm spending is on studying. And then of course you get distracted when you're with friends, but it's also good study time.
Yeah, no, I can attest to that as well. Like studying with friends, so it always makes it a little bit more enjoyable. Ben, you want to?
Definitely.
Yeah, I might just add, I think it makes sense to pay attention to the quality of your study time at least as much as the quantity of your study time. So, people will often like be sitting in the library and like scrolling through Twitter and with their textbook in front of them. And they'll be like, oh, I studied for 4 hours. But in reality, they scrolled through Twitter on their laptop in the library for 4 hours. And so I think figuring out like how to actually be productive during your study time, and it's going to be different for everyone, is really important. So for me, for instance, I can't study very well if I have like music or a podcast going on in the background. And it took me a while to learn that, but once I did, I could like cover as much material in like half the time, and then I had more time to do fun things. When you're studying with friends, make sure you're actually studying and not just chatting with your friends with a textbook in front of you. So yeah.
And Ricky?
Yeah, I usually set up like a list of things I need to do on a specific day, so that will keep me focused because I know I have those things to do and I need to finish them. That will make my like study time more efficient.
All right. Michaela? Last word.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I'm like the same as Ricky. Like I like the whole like bullet journal method for getting things done. So like normally if I plan to like, I guess you can't really like, they're gonna open the libraries at some point, but you can't really go to the library. But if I was going to go to the library, like I would make a list of the things that I wanted to get through. And like normally for studying, I'll cover like a certain amount of concepts per day. And then like concepts that I don't fully understand, I'll like highlight them and then I'll bring those topics to office hours if I can. And if not, like I'll ask a friend. But generally speaking, I'll try to study first by myself so that I have a general understanding of information before I meet up with other people. Just because what I find most useful for meeting up with other people to study is like to have the opportunity to either explain concepts to other people, which is a great way to solidify your knowledge, or otherwise to have people explain concepts to you, which is really nice when it's your friend.
Yeah, so For people that are going to campus or are living on campus, I know that some of the libraries are already open with limited study space. So Robarts and Gerstein, I believe, are first. So you may have to book to. So check on the library websites, and they have more details on their reopening plan. And next question. So, how do you meet and make friends in university? Or I guess in this case, how do you meet and make friends online or even in a socially distanced world? Who likes to go first? Ibrahim.
Yeah, so it's definitely way more challenging in the online setting because in person you'll just like make friends with people that sit around you or like that you meet. You definitely have to put like more effort. I would highly like suggest like joining some clubs. I think like right after this, as part of Rush, we have introduced a bunch of like tech-related clubs. Definitely find ones that interest you. The CSSU is going to be hosting like lots of remote events. Definitely participate in those, and be like active in your classes and stuff. And like make an effort to try and make friends. It makes the university experience so much better.
Awesome. Anyone else want to join in?
I might add that I think it makes sense to look just like it's great to like go to the CSSU or sort of tech adjacent clubs and try to meet people there. By all means, do that. It's great to have friends in your classes. At the same time, I might recommend trying to join an extracurricular or two or something at your college that's just not at all related to what you're studying. I personally really like having the perspective of having friends who are studying things that have no relationship to what I'm studying. And whose general priorities and outlook are quite different. Like I think that's useful, and it can kind of prevent you from getting stuck in this really narrow view of what you can do with your life. And it's also just sort of fun to talk to people with lots of different interests.
And Michaela? Michaela?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, obviously my first year I was in person and stuff, but in computer science I struggled a lot to like connect with people and to make friendships at first during the first year. And I was actually really lucky that I asked a professor for advice, Professor Diane Horton. You'll be very lucky if you have her for anything. She's awesome. And she actually connected me with Lana, and Lana was super kind. She just met up with me as a random first year, like multiple times throughout first year, like for lunch dates and talks, and like literally just to give me support as a first year. So my advice would also be like, please don't feel like, I guess, shy to reach out to upper years. Like, especially if they're Lana, like they'll be so nice to you. They'll help you make friendships, connect you with everyone in CS. Like Lana really made like help me feel at home in CS. So like you should definitely message upper years, get advice, figure out how to connect with people from them. Like most of them seem to be like really chill and they know what first year was like and they're very willing to be friendly with you.
I'll second that. One is amazing.
I will third that. I think that's great advice.
I guess I'll go. And yeah, I actually also struggled to make friends in first year, and meeting Michaela was so much fun as well. So I'm always like, I think as an upper year mentor for all the Frosh leaders, like you should definitely keep the connections that you have with your first years because it's so difficult for them, probably right now with the online communities, but also I felt like in first year it's going to be a bit difficult because everyone has so many different courses. Whereas as we moved into second and third year, I just started seeing more people in more and more of my courses. So there were so many more familiar faces. But I also joined so many clubs, and that's where I was able to make a lot more friends. I know also for me, like Justine Chen and I, we started like a club called Hello Girl. There's the Women in Computer Science Club, which Michaela is a part of, and they're doing incredible work. And I felt like that was so important for me, and it gave me such a great community to be a part of. But also with the CSSU and the U of T AI group, like I found people that which Ben was on as well with me, and so we were able to kind of do a lot of things and for the students, but we also, because we were bonding so much and putting in so many of our hours to do all of that work, we became really good friends. So I feel like definitely joining extracurriculars is great. And also just reaching out to the people in your class, even if it's online, asking them if they'd want to maybe study together after class, or if they have any questions. Sometimes even asking a question for the sake of making friends, rather than like, it's like, hey, how do you feel about this class? How do you feel about the material? It doesn't need to be an inquisitive question. It can just be a question of you checking in on them and on their days and how that's going too.
Awesome. So I know we're taking a little bit more time, so I think I'm just going to limit to about 2 to 3 responses per question. So, how do you maintain a balanced lifestyle with a heavy workload? Uh, I guess Lana is the best to answer this question first. I'm going to make you go again.
Yeah, someone else can go and I can go after. So
Okay.
I just answered one.
So, anyone else want to answer that first? Ibrahim?
Yeah, so the first thing I'd say is like, do not like take a heavy workload for like the sake of taking like a heavy workload. Like I think like you definitely want to like ensure like good work-life balance. Like in university, you don't want to like overburden yourself. You want to make friends, have a good time. It'll make you like better in your academics as well. So like just don't like try and like overload on courses, take a bunch of hard courses and stuff like that. But like obviously you will still, because of the way university set up, you'll still end up with like a somewhat heavy workload. And I think the best way to do it is like just as like one of the professors mentioned, like allocate times for like social interactions or like social events or like anything that you find like de-stressing, whether it be sports, video games, or like just talking to people. Like block off time in your calendar for that, just as you would like block off time for like studying or like anything of that sort.
I can go next. I found for myself having a diversity of things that I was involved with sort of like forced me to manage my time really effectively. Like I found that when in second semester first year, I got a part-time job, and I found that that actually helped me prioritize my time a lot better. And I felt like when I was studying, it was higher quality studying because I knew there was like a limited amount of time. So one thing I guess I might recommend is just having other things that you are also doing that isn't just school. Although I know, that might not be the work for everybody, but it did work for me.
All right. So actually, Lana, I have a different question for you, but you can also
okay.
put that response in there.
Yeah, just very quickly,
right.
Summer courses are really great. So if you take summer courses, you can have less courses during the second year. So I ended up taking 4 courses in each semester of my final year because I was able to take summer courses. So that was really good. Okay, sorry about that.
No worries. Because I think you and Michaela will be best for this next. So how do you choose what clubs to join? Or how do you find clubs that interest you?
I guess I can answer that first. So again, I joined WIX, Women in Computer Science, specifically because I was like, at least in my first year, I know courses have changed a bit, but I had previous programming experience before I entered university, and when I skipped one of the prerequisite courses, so I just went straight into CSC 148. And in that class, I noticed that the majority of people who skipped, it was a really male-dominated course. So there weren't a lot of girls that I got to meet in that course. So I was really excited to get to know more girls, specifically in computer science. That's how I met Lana and Justine, and that's like when they were really nice to me and took me out for like drinks and lunch and stuff. And then after that, they were actually the people who let me know about the club, Women in Computer Science. And then I didn't have that much time in first year to get involved, which is okay. But in my later years, I decided that that was a club I really wanted to dedicate time to. So I learned more about it in second year, and in third and fourth year, got more involved. So I kind of already knew like what I was looking for. I wanted a community of women in computer science specifically, or like people who were, I guess, passionate about having like equal representation of like all sorts of people in computer science. That was the kind of club that I wanted to be part of. And I knew like that would be a great opportunity for networking and like hearing about jobs and different, they do lots of events like recruitment workshops and like technical interview preps and stuff like that. And it was like a group of people that I knew I would feel comfortable with.
Yeah, and I do want to say, especially with online learning and stuff, I do recommend joining at least something that you're interested in even in your first year. Like when we're talking about balancing your courses and the clubs, at the end of the day, you have to figure out what your balance is. So whether it's okay to drop off a club halfway through, or when you notice that oh, okay, maybe I signed up for 3 or 4 clubs. I liked club A and B, but I didn't like C and D. That's fine to drop C and D, and you just have to put your priority. Sorry, Lana.
No, it's okay. So for me, I joined clubs that were more technical, but also other clubs that were more community based. So I joined, for example, the UT AI group, and that was a really great opportunity for me because I realized that I was interested in artificial intelligence, and by being a part of that club, I was able to create, like, be on the team that was creating a course for first year students to learn more about machine learning, to be on the team that was launching a machine learning and climate change competition, and also just work on a lot of interesting things that had to do with machine learning and artificial intelligence outreach. So that was one way. And there's so many cool clubs you learn about after this session. So there's the gaming club, the U of T computer graphics club, AI club. There's a lot of cool stuff. So I really recommend, and I think there's a bioinformatics club too. Maybe that's the student union. But I recommend that now that you're in first year, try to see what sorts of passions or things you like within computer science, because these clubs are a great way for you to meet people who are already kind of immersed in that domain and who are already have experience, and you'll get to see if you like it, how you like about it, what you like about it. And a lot of cool things about these clubs is they have a lot of projects. So with the AI club, there's a research like subgroup where you can work on research. With the graphics club, they're also introducing student projects and all of that. So that was a really great way for me to find out what I liked. I also joined the CSSU and Hello Girl because I did feel like I wanted to build a stronger community for computer science students that I felt was lacking when I was in first and second year. So you don't need to worry about this right now, but when we were in first year, there was no guarantee that you were going to be in the program unless you had a specific grade point average, and that was very stressful and it led to a very competitive environment. So when I joined the CSU in my third year, we really wanted to create so many more events for first year students and upper year students to try and let them kind of create more friendships and have more events that way. And it's incredible to see all the amazing work the CSSU is doing now because it's worlds away from what I had when I was in my first year. So it's really great.
Yeah, like just to put one last point in there, it's like foundations for is a lot of what the current Frosh and is today, her work and Justine as well. So off to some student questions. So all about jobs. So PY experience, is it easy to find a job? How do you know what positions to apply to? What do companies look for? So I think we'll go with Ben, Jacob, and Ricky. So Ben, if you want to start.
Sure. So, looking for jobs like in summer internships out of first year is going to be very hard. It is the normal experience not to get an internship out of your first year. Don't worry if you don't. That's a completely fine thing. If so, there are a lot of things you can try. If you're like a first year, generally like smaller companies like startups will be more willing to hire people with less prior experience. And also, if you know someone who's worked at a company before, that referral can go a pretty long way toward boosting your application. So, like the ideal circumstance, I think, for finding an internship out of your first year is to know someone who has previously worked at a fairly small startup and can refer you there. That's probably the best, but even then, it's tricky. And again, don't stress if you don't find something. Lots of people either try to like start a business with their friends or work on some personal project over the summer between first and second year, or take courses, Like those are all completely valid options. It's like second year and above, I'd recommend applying for the Technology Leadership Initiative. That's a sort of that you will learn like sort of business and like navigating the world of companies skills. And they try very hard to set everyone up with internships. So I think that's my main advice.
Yeah. And then to quickly add, there are other specific first, second year oriented internships. I know Microsoft, Explore, Google's STEP. It used to be called Engineering Practicum, now it's STEP. And a few other companies do that as well. But the thing is, it's like, apply. There's no bad thing if you don't apply. Always shoot your shot. Take it.
Yeah, that was really great advice. Two things I would add to that. One, like apply early. So like a lot of stuff opens up like around now. So I'll really start to apply like in September, October, November. Don't wait till like February or March and it's like kind of late. So that's one thing. And second of all, maybe just like try to be organized as possible about it. So like literally like make a spreadsheet, like list all the companies, like if you've applied, like can you apply, things like that. Just to stay organized because like ideally you'll like apply to like a lot of different places. So definitely just stay organized about that. Yeah.
And Ricky?
Yeah, apply early is really a good advice. I applied to Intel at a career fair, and the interview process is really quick. So do apply early, and don't worry about that you don't get any internship in first or second year, because my PY at Intel is the first intern I get. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. My first work experience was PY as well. So it's like, don't be discouraged that you don't get one in first year. Keep trying and keep trying to find that opportunity. So next question. Side project ideas and examples that you've seen or recommend, or how to sort of approach side project and even hackathon. So I think you're one of the best people to answer this one.
Yeah, happy to. I think maybe I'll just tell the story of the hackathon where I created SmartArm, because I think it was yeah, I think that might be relevant. It was basically just went in very, very open-minded to a hackathon. I highly recommend these for like getting started on side projects. If you don't know what it is, they're just like 24 to 48-hour events where you find team members and you work on ideas. Hackathons have various like topics and themes. So sometimes they'll be like focused on doing like an AI project or something like VR or something like that. But usually there's a lot of space for creativity. So in my case, it was U of T Hack. First hackathon, I had no idea of anything that I wanted to build. I didn't have a team. I just like went on my own. And it was kind of serendipitous. I actually ran into a friend that I knew from like middle school. I didn't talk to him in like 5 or 6 years. And we were just like catching up. And I was telling him, I was sort of interested in like software and AI. And he was telling me he'd done some like 3D printing stuff with hardware. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Maybe there's something like we can put together with those things. And I remember that first night they had the MLH there, which supports usually like hardware and various software for things. We just got like one of everything just because we wanted to try to see what we didn't even have any idea yet. We just went on to their like online portal and selected literally one of like as many things as we could. And one of the things that we were finding is like we had these Raspberry Pis, or was it an Arduino, small computers, and we'd also gone to a workshop that Microsoft had about their computer vision, which I had no idea about before. And as a result of like going to that workshop, kind of getting all these different hardwares, we were just having fun, like really just like fooling around, just trying to see what we could put together. And I think in that space, we were sort of seeing like, oh, it'd be kind of cool to like have this, 3D printed arm and have it sort of move in accordance with this like image recognition stuff. Like if it saw a bottle, it'd be cool if it could like grasp it just by seeing it. And so like we kind of put together a really scrappy MVP that day. Like, it didn't even work. Like, the first round of judging, the arm was just like spazzing out. So it was literally broken. It was really embarrassing. I remember running to Home Hardware like an hour before judging. We stayed up all night to grab hot glue to put the motors on the arm. But the whole process of it was a lot of fun, and we had a lot of space for creativity, which I think was really important. And so yeah, and it ended up kind of spiraling off into a bigger competition that Microsoft was hosting, and then we incorporated in it, and it became like a company. There's like a few employees, and now we're like beta testing with a bunch of ARM amputees. But it really started off just having that space for creativity. So if there's one thing I would recommend, is either a hackathon or just carving out time outside of your studying where there isn't a specific goal that you're trying to get to with what you're doing. I think that space really allows for you to find what kind of stuff you just like naturally want to spend time working on.
Awesome. So, Ibrahim, do you want to add something on top of that?
Yeah,
About side
sure.
projects?
Yeah, so first of all, for side projects, like I mean, obviously it's always fun to like come up with new ideas and stuff, but like the biggest takeaway from side projects is like the actual implementation part, which is like super helpful, which is why like a lot of companies look for side projects, because it gives you like experience like building something from the ground up. One good way to like come up with ideas is like straight up just like thinking about things that like will make your own life easier. Like, I think the very first side project I worked on was like this really, really simple SMS bot for like the FIFA World Cup. I think that was like going on during my first year, and I was like in the US and I didn't have like data all the time, so I wanted to like get updates using like text messages because I had unlimited text messages. And there was like this super simple bot that like was like less than like 100 lines of code, but like till this date, like every time I like bring up that story in like an interview or something, like the interviewer's like always like really happy and stuff, because like it demonstrated that like, yeah, I saw a problem and like I solved it, and it was like a pretty simple problem. So like basically just like identify things that you can like make easier in your own life via code. uh and like it doesn't like yeah, I think a lot of people get bogged down by the idea that like, you know, their side project has to be like the next big like thing. Like, that is not true. Like, just come up with like simple things that you can like just code up and like experiment with.
Yeah, especially it's like finding something that it just solves a problem to you. It's like find something that's like, oh, hey, I need to do X, Y, Z, do it, and then that's a side project. And then that also gives you a reason to sort of say, hey, this is why I did it. Have a story behind it. Lana, I saw your hand. No?
So
No?
another, yeah, no, yeah. So just very quickly, another thing with side projects is there's so many tutorials online, so nothing is really too difficult for you to learn. Like, you could even just search up how to create a bot, and then it will walk you through all of the code and tell you exactly how you can go about it. For me, I took a intro to iOS development course, and so on Udemy. And there was 22 different projects that you develop just because you're working on that course, and it's all your own code. And what you can do is you could put those as side projects, or you can even create your own spin-off of that. So I created like an emotion regulation mood app, that where you can basically journal all of your emotions onto your app. And so that was something cool that I thought was useful. But I also was able to learn it through that online course, and I literally did it in the 2 weeks that I had off during winter break. So there are so many resources that you can use outside of university to learn tools and create projects yourself.
The internet is a wonderful place.
There's one more thing I can add.
Yeah, go ahead. Blessing.
So with Animo, I think there's just another point of like kind of just getting started on your side project, and it's really okay to just start off like really small. I think like what Ibrahim was saying, like he had his SMS thing that was like less than 100 lines of code, and I think that's if you're trying to think about a problem, just think about like the most simple thing you can do to start. So for instance, with Animo, it's a pretty a big task of trying to measure and predict mental health. You can imagine there's a lot of ambiguity in how you can formalize mental health. But I remember when we first started, I was at the time I was just very concerned, very, very disturbed by like a lot of what was going on with like the mental health of the people around me. especially in the computer science community. And I had like a group chat of like 20 people that were all computer science students, and I just thought, hey, on Facebook you can like download your group chat, like your messages. You go to your settings, you get like a JSON file. I just like got that, and then I just started running like sentiment analysis over all of our messages and just like trying to detect if there were any trends. It was completely useless. Like it didn't really tell me anything like valuable about my mental health or the mental health of my friends. But it was like it sort of got the ball rolling for me. And then the next iteration of that, we were working with a small startup with 20 people that were sort of interested in this stuff. What we built for them was basically just a step up from what I had done for like this Facebook group. We did that over their Slack communications, and we started sending them PDFs of this. So that was like our second iteration. And now we're like a year and a half in. Now we're working with companies with like over 100 employees, and we have like a full platform. There's like a dashboard and like a chatbot, and everything is like visualized and insights are provided there. But we didn't jump straight to that. It honestly started off with just downloading that JSON from Facebook Messenger and then running a simple sentiment analysis tool that was like maybe 5 lines of code over it. So I would just recommend, if you see something you're interested in, just go for the smallest thing and just start off with that.
All right. And I think maybe our last topic is talk about research, so how to get involved in it, and how to even like showing people can get from research from undergrad even all the way to grad school, which Lana is a great example of. So Lana, Michaela, you both can take a floor on this with your journeys. Lana, you'd like to go first?
Sure. So during my undergrad, I did research. I did industry research at the MIT IBM Watson AI lab, and I also did academic research. So with the industry research at labs that are doing research, you can apply there. I think mine is, yeah. And then for academic research, what I did was I basically looked at all of the professors that were doing research that I found interesting. And I would go on their website, read their most recent publications, see if it was something that I was interested in. And if it was, I would email them out with a basically quick bio, who I am, what I've done, what I'm interested in, why what I'm interested in ties into what they're doing. So I noticed you're doing research in XYZ, which is based on the publications I read, and I'm interested in this because of WYZ. So I then and basically I sent emails out to so many people from within U of T. Not everyone responded, which is totally okay. And some people responded saying, ended up working with Professor Yang Zhu, who's working with computer science and cognitive science. And it was the best experience I've ever had because he was so keen on just giving me the freedom to choose the hypothesis that we had, but he also knew how to stop you from maybe having a hypothesis that wasn't completely correct. And I ended up, as an undergrad, having 2 publications in the leading cognitive science conference, one of which I was a leading author on. So that was incredible. It was definitely very difficult because there were so many failed hypotheses before, but I was so grateful for that opportunity. And undergraduate research, not necessarily a publication, it's usually good, but research on its own is a really great avenue for you to get into grad school. And I think also it was a really fun experience for me too. Yeah, at U of T.
Yeah, so I also did industry research and academic research. So for industry research, I guess it was Sick Kids Center for Computational Medicine, and now it's the UHN Techna Institute research. But basically what I did was, because I'm also in bioinformatics, I was really interested in research that related to medicine and healthcare. So I wanted to be in a lab that was at least like in a hospital or worked with patient data and that kind of information. So I was actually lucky. I found online that there was a lab by a professor at U of T, Professor Mike Brudno, and he had the lab at Sick Kids and now the one at UHN. And I literally just emailed him, pretty much same process as Lana. And I was like, hi, I'm like really keen on what you're doing. Like, I read these publications, this and this interested me, and it interests me because of this and this. I attached my transcript, my CV, and what courses I was taking. This was back at the start of second year. And he just kind of like replied to me right away. He was like, sorry, I don't take second year students. And I was like, oh, that's fine. And then I was a little bit discouraged, but then he literally emailed me a day later and he was like, actually, I changed my mind. So sometimes professors are like that. I would say just like email them, reach out, like exact same format Lana described. Sometimes they'll shoot you down and then literally just be like, never mind, you can come back. So yeah, and then I went through a series of interviews with him. I think it was like a 3-interview process for me to get in. And then I got to work with him and I still work part-time. So I did over the summer work with him and then part-time. And then for academic research, because I'm in the bioinformatics specialist, there's 2 project courses that you're required to take in 3rd year and 4th year. So you actually have to do the process that Lana described and email a bunch of different labs. There's a list of them that you can apply to, but same format. And then you basically find a lab that you do research with. And it's cool because you have to produce some kind of a paper or some kind of original work by the end of the project. So it really helps keep you structured, and it's a big time demand, but it's super rewarding. And if you're lucky to have amazing PIs like I do, they dedicated a ton of time to me, were super helpful. My recommendation is that you start in a smaller lab with perhaps less undergraduates, because then the PIs have more time for you. I mean, like if they have like 17 grad students, they're probably going to be meeting mostly with grad students. And then grad students are great, don't get me wrong, but the grad students will be meeting with you. Like you won't be meeting directly with a PI. In a smaller lab, they have more time for you. So my advice would be, at least in undergraduate research, it's really good to start in a lab that's a bit less established, has less people, just because it turns out that the PIs have more time for you and they're more willing to set aside time for undergraduates.
All right, and we are into our last couple minutes. Ben, do you want to add something?
One other thing I might add is that it's often very fruitful to look outside of the computer science department. So you can kind of stick computational X, like you can fill in X where X is some other discipline, and it probably exists. So for example, I did a research opportunity program course where you get course credit for doing research in a lab in the psychology department. And now I'm doing an independent study project there, where we're using reinforcement learning and particle filters and such to explain aspects of human cognition. And it's like cool reinforcement learning stuff that you could possibly do in a computer science department, but it's actually in a psychology department. So there are many more opportunities to do computational research than you would see if you only looked within the CS department.
Yes, cross-functional.
Sorry, if I can add on really quickly to what Ben just said, it reminded me of a story. So there was a psych lab that I was working in, and there's a big demand. Like I think there's a lot of different disciplines that are trying to integrate more computational practices. I mean, anywhere where there's data, it sort of makes sense to have some level of computational expertise. Like a lot of people are moving from older stat software to like using Python, for instance. So with this psych lab, they were just trying to do exactly what I said, so move from like an old software, a stat software to using Python. And they actually had me and one other person that were like CS students teach Python to some of the grad students there. We did like I think it was like a Coursera course, and like we like facilitated that for like 10 weeks. So I think just adding on to what Ben was saying, I think there's a really strong need. I would say those are some of the more unconventional places you could look to if you're just trying to get your foot into research in some way.
Awesome. So we're down to literally last 3 minutes. So I guess from each person, we'll get one last final, your one tip for first year students. Ben? All right.
I guess chill, don't stress yourself out too much. Really just try to enjoy yourself and meet as many people as you can. And useful career things will follow from that.
Jacob? Yep. You're on mute.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, you.
Yeah. So I would say, okay, this is a little bit like obvious, hopefully, but like sleep 8 hours a night. Try to, and like enjoy yourself. Like this is the last time you're going to be like in first year and like starting at a new school. Like after you finish undergrad, you're probably just going to go work or something like that. So like really like enjoy it and have a lot of fun and sleep enough. Yeah.
Ricky?
Yeah, I think to get to know more people in CS, you can get to know more opportunities. I was in math. I was in math in my first year, so I didn't know a lot of things about CS after my second year. So it's great to know like more people in CS or even other departments. So if you want to take a second major or just change a major, it's a great thing to get to know those people there.
Ibrahim?
Yeah, just building on to like what Ben said, definitely make the effort to meet people, join clubs, find your interests, and like just try not stressing out, especially like if you're aiming for industry, like GPA literally does not matter. That is not to say like don't try in your courses. You definitely want to get the most out of this experience. So like definitely try learning, but like don't like kill yourself over it. Don't like, try like stressing out or like, like pulling all-nighters and stuff like that. So yeah.
Michaela?
Everyone's giving some really good like social and life tips. So I'm just going to give one academic tip, which is literally you save so much time studying if you pay attention in lecture. Like just if you're literally actively listening in lecture and taking notes and like actually paying attention, it will be so easy to go over the material after. I promise you, it's so worth it to just listen to the prof and pay attention. Like your studying will be 10 times easier afterwards. You'll have to do much less. Just be efficient with your time so you can have more time for sleeping and socializing.
Lana?
So one tip I have, which I found extremely helpful going through university, was the importance of realizing that we are not always going to succeed, and it's okay to fail sometimes and to get rejections, whether from company or research or even maybe having a bad like exam or a bad midterm. Like that's totally okay. What's important is just how we react to things and how we make it better. So just make sure to be resilient and to always try to like kind of stand back up after you find things a bit difficult. Very quick academic advice, because I loved what Michaela was saying too. Honestly, I've found cramming to be the worst thing possible. Like when an assignment is released, read it and make sure you understand, even though it's due in a month, just read it to understand what is asked of you. And if there's midterm coming up in 2 weeks, start studying for it then. I just found building up my study, like building up preparing for milestones was much more helpful than studying for it from 2 days before. And it actually works. It actually works that way. Thanks.
Awesome. And hold on one second.
I think I can go.
No, it's not. All right, and Samir.
Yeah, I think I'm just thinking back to when I was in first year and what I would have liked to hear. What just comes to mind is I feel like I heard a lot of people saying, follow your passion. And thinking back to that now, I just feel like it's such bullshit because like when you're trying to think about that, it's just like the first thing is like, well, I don't